Alright, welcome to my Gold Pride First Impressions video. I'm trying a bit of a different format for this video, so let me know if this works for you, if there's something I can do better with this format. But I have to say, as far as TCG exclusives go, this is one of the more promising archetypes. You know, as much as I love Goaty, that first wave of support was absolutely rough. And it has been quite a while since Konami has made like a truly good TCG exclusive. But so far I can see the potential of these. They all have pretty good effects. They're just lacking a card pool, in my opinion. Like, the power level and the consistency level of these cards is pretty low right now, just because there aren't that many cards in the archetype. So, I'm going to go over the cards in the archetype first. We're going to talk about some external stuff, and then of course we're going to talk about P.U.N.K Gold Pride smashed together, because obviously that's what Doug mentioned in his reveal video, and it's probably going to be the way to play this deck for quite a while until we see what the new support looks like. So let's talk about the monsters real quick first here. So the main playstyle of this archetype is going to be that you need to have lower life points than your opponent, really, to be able to play these cards at all. Which is a little concerning, because we know what time rules are like, and we know what Dinomorphia, historically Dinomorphia struggles at larger events because, you know, you just lose in time. But unlike Dinomorphia, you don't need to be at like 100 life points the entire game. You only have to be at a life point deficit. So even if you are like 500 life points lower than your opponent, you can still play like the full engine. It turns on your entire engine, so that's the upside. And like I said, they have very low power and consistency right now, mainly due to the fact that all of the monsters are different types and different attributes. For these two, like Fiend and Pyro, Fiend and Pyro are not at all easily searchable. They can only really be searched with like maybe small world lines and the archetypal search spell. So it's going to be a bit difficult to actually find the monsters you want, and the payoff is decent, but you know, the sheer amount of power creep that we had in 2022 is going to make these look like dog shit in comparison to everything we've seen last year. But let's go over the individual monsters real quick. So Gold Pride Leon is the one that we've known about the longest. So all of these monsters have the same effect, that if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon them. So all of these can be extenders that you probably never really need to normal summon in this deck, as long as you can put yourself at a life point deficit. So what Leon does is he is the level 3 tuner for the deck, and when he is normal or special summoned, you can target a non-warrior Gold Pride monster in your graveyard and special summon it. The downside is that you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Gold Pride monsters. And right now there is only one Gold Pride extra deck monster, and in my opinion it's only okay. So having the restriction that locks you into playing like a mediocre card really sucks, but I'm hoping in the future that we get something that's a bit better to go into off of that effect. The next is during the opponent's main phase, you can quick synchro, but you can only use Gold Pride monsters as synchro material. So again, yet another restriction that forces you to play this card in Archetype. But if it's during your turn, you can still like special summon it and synchro anything you want using any monsters you want. It's only the quick effect that locks you into using Gold Pride as material. It's kind of the same way as Goaty, where Goaty on the opponent's turn you have to synchro into a fish, whereas on your turn you can synchro for whatever you want. I think Leon is a good card, it's just the card pool for the Gold Prides is it's such a low power level right now that there's not really a good payoff for his effects. Next is the Captain Carry. So she's a Water Fiend, which is a very strange typing. There's not a whole lot of synergy there. Again, if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon it. And if it's normal or special summoned, you can add a Gold Pride trap card from your deck to your hand. And there's currently only one trap card, and it's pretty good. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Gold Pride monster you control that will special summon from the extra deck. Banish up to 3 Gold Pride cards from your graveyard, and if you do, that monster gains 500 attack. That effect is like pretty useless, honestly. Like, yes, you can give your synchro monster 1500 attack, but the game is so not focused on the battle phase at all that 1500 is probably barely ever gonna matter. And plus, you're just banishing material from your graveyard that you could be using to revive with Leon, and even the synchro monsters and the Link monsters. They have effects that can special summon Gold Prides from the grave. So you're just banishing all of your floating effects away for basically a useless attack boost. So that's the issue. It's just stupid little effects like that that really pisses me off about TCG exclusive archetypes, because they always have to have some little stupid effect like that is so meaningless and so counterintuitive, but Konami feels like they have to put more text on the cards, so they just give it some dog shit like that. Like, it's really annoying. And then last we have Gold Pride Nitro Head, which is a level 8 Fire Pyro. So Fire Pyro actually makes sense. And it being level 8 is actually a really good thing, because if these were all level 3s, it would create like an entirely new playstyle as an engine. But having a level 8 is actually really good. Because again, if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon it. So it's just a level 8 extender that doesn't really require anything other than you having a life point deficit. And it has a really unique effect that can actually shut off a lot of cards. So during your opponent's standby phase, you can give your opponent a little token. And you can put that token wherever you want on their side of the field, and it cannot be used as link material. And then during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect target that token and destroy all cards in its adjacent monster zones and spell trap zones. So it's very easy for your opponent to play around that token, right? They can just kind of put all of their monsters, like as they could put their monsters and spells in zones like as far away as possible from this guy. But if you were to put the token in the middle column, if they summon more than 2 monsters on the field at a time, so like if they have 3 monsters on the field at a time, without counting the extra monster zone, that means one of those like left, right, middle zones is going to have a monster in it, so against a deck that just kind of like spams the board with guys, you can almost always guarantee to get at least one pop off of that. But overall, that effect is just pretty bad. It's very easy to play around. And if your opponent is playing a Link deck, you can put the token kind of like where you know that their Link zones are going to point, right? Because if you're occupying one monster zone, or one EMZ, your opponent has to summon in the other EMZ, and you can configure the token in a way that if they try to combo off and they have to summon to their Link arrows, you can kind of place that token there to either take up the Link zone, or if they summon to that Link zone, you can use the effect to pop like 1 or 2 cards maybe. So that's pretty neat. The most important thing, in my opinion, is that them having the token that can't be linked off against certain decks that don't really have ways to synchro, because synchroing isn't popular right now. Because you can't use the token as link material, you can't use it as Xyz material. It's a fire pyro token, so good luck fusing that away. That token turns off Lightning Storm evenly matched, and it also turns off the Kashtira effects to special summon from hand. So very convenient that Konami printed this card in the same set that Kashtira is getting all their support. So if you just really hate Kashtira, you can just give them a little token, and then they're gonna have a rough time playing without like their Rise Heart or anything like that. So that's really funny. Giving that token can protect your board from removal like Lightning Storm and Evenly, which is nice. But it doesn't stop Raigeki. And if Forbidden Droplet is popular in the format again, then they can use that token as material for Forbidden Droplet to negate your guys. So there's upsides and there's downsides. And then next we're going to talk about the extra deck monsters. So right now it's only a Link and a level 6 Synchro. So let's talk about the Link first, because I think this one's kind of just the meh card. It has up and down arrows, so it gives your opponent a Link arrow, which kind of sucks. Like, we haven't... Most archetypes these days just give you 2 downward facing arrows, just because that's just the normal thing these days. And the synchro materials is that it has to be Gold Pride monsters with different levels. And if you remember, there's 2 level 3s and 1 level 8, which means you have to either use a level 3 and a level 8, or you're gonna have to link away your level 6 synchro, which I don't know if you would really ever want to. So the link requirements already make this card really difficult to justify summoning, and the effect is kind of decent, I guess. You can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it, then if your life points are lower than your opponent's, destroy all cards in its adjacent monster zones and spell trap zones. So it's the same as the Pyro guy, except it's not a quick effect, but it is technically AoE removal in a Link 2. You can maybe destroy like 1 or 2 cards, maybe 3. But the problem with this kind of effect is that it's only gonna work once. It's like Mech Knights, right? Once your opponent knows that all of your removal is based on zone placement, they're just gonna play around it. So this card is going to work once per duel, and then it's never going to work ever again. And then once per turn during the end phase, if this effect was activated, return it to the extra deck, and you can summon a Nitro Head from your deck or graveyard. And Nitro Head is the level 8 fire one. So it takes 2 materials to make, and it kind of floats into one of your guys from your deck or graveyard. And that's what I was saying earlier about the Pirate Girl, is that both of these monsters can float into monsters from your graveyard. So if you're just banishing all of them from your graveyard for a stupid attack boost, it seems really counterintuitive. So Nitro Blaster, I think, is it's not a good card at all. It's gonna work once. It's gonna work once a duel. It's never gonna work ever again. The link materials required to summon it are very steep, considering that this deck only has like 2 monsters that you can actually make this with, and they're not easily searchable. Yeah, this card is pretty bad in my opinion. And then we have the Synchro Gold Pride Star Leon. The upside, it is a generic Synchro, so it's just a tuner and a non-tuner. And this one is much better in my opinion. So during the main phase, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. I wish it would be like any card, but face-up monster is fine, I guess. This card gains attack equal to that target's attack. Then if your life points are lower, you can destroy that monster. So as long as you're playing your Gold Pride cards, your life points are probably going to be lower than your opponent's. So you can pretty much think of this as a quick effect destroy a monster. Which is good for a level 6 generic. Like that's a pretty solid effect. And then during the end phase, if you used that effect, you can return it to the extra, and you can summon a Leon from your deck or graveyard. Right? And then that Leon, when you summon it, will revive a Gold Pride from your graveyard. Either the Pirate Girl or the Pyro Car. So it kind of it can technically float into 2 monsters. So you use 2 monsters to make it, and then it can float into 2 more during the end phase. So you're not really losing much advantage by doing that, which is nice. And it being generic also means that other engines that you might want to play this deck with, like using any generic materials, can get you access to your Gold Pride cards, just by special summoning Leon from deck, which is pretty nice. Overall, I think the Synchro is way better than the Link. I don't know why the Link isn't more generic, considering that they made the Synchro completely generic, but you know, that's just the tax of being a TCG exclusive archetype, is that they put way too many restrictions on them for no reason. Okay, next we have 1 spell and 1 trap. This is all we have right now, just 1 spell, 1 trap. The spell is very good. You can reveal a Gold Pride monster in your hand, add a Gold Pride with a different name from your deck to your hand, then you can special summon the monster that you revealed, and then you lose life points equal to its attack. So it's a half searcher, half extender that causes you to lose life points, which enables all of your monsters to be able to special summon. It enables all of your destruction effects. This card is super good. The only problem is this card itself isn't searchable, and this is the only search spell in the deck. The deck really has a problem with consistency, I think. Because if this is the only searcher, if you don't draw this, you're just going to have to hard open like every Gold Pride monster that you want, which is not going to be guaranteed at all. I really wish the pirate girl could search spells and traps, not just traps. That would make her 10 times better. She could do a ton of combos on her own if that was the case. But she can only search traps, and speaking of the trap, it has kind of like a trap hole effect, where if your opponent normal or special summons a monster, you can target one of those monsters, reveal 3 gold pride monsters from your deck, your opponent randomly picks one to special summon, and then you can destroy the monster that your opponent summoned. So right now, the only really good target I would say is Leon, because Leon has that quick effect to synchro summon. So if you have the pirate girl on field, you search the trap, and then on your opponent's turn you activate the trap, destroy a monster, summon the Leon from deck, and then you can quick synchro into the level 6 using Leon and Pirate Girl. So Pirate Girl on her own is like 2 interruptions, which is pretty cool. The problem is that if you don't have 3 Leon in your deck, then this card is going to be completely up to RNG. Because if you have 3 Leon in your deck, you can reveal all 3 of them, and you're guaranteed to get the summon. But if you have like 2 Leon, then you only have a 66% chance to get into the Leon, into the Synchro for another disruption. So, again, more TCG exclusive stuff that, like, you really only see these types of effects on TCG decks these days, where it's just so random and unnecessary. Like, if they really wanted to push this deck, they would just say summon any gold pride from your deck, and then bam. But, because trap cards themselves are just not good cards anymore, so they really have to make trap cards super strong in order for them to be relevant, and, while this is a strong card, the RNG is probably gonna screw you more than it'll help you. Well, I say probably, but it will. The RNG will screw you more than it will be useful for you. But it's all we have. And technically, you can also reveal the Pirate Girl as well. So you can like loop the Pirate Girl and the trap card over and over again, because you can summon the pirate, search the trap, trap summon pirate, pirate search trap, trap summon pirate, pirate summon trap. Like, you get the idea. Some cards to consider in the deck, right? Because you need to have a life point deficit to be able to play this archetype at all. And the only way to do that in Archetype is with the spell card. So if you don't open the spell card, you're just kind of screwed. So you need more options to be able to start your plays. One of the best ones is probably Instant Fusion, Ready Fusion, Instant Contact. Right? All of these cards that you pay 1,000 life points to summon a guy from your extra deck. So already getting the life point deficit is a huge reason already for this card to be useful, because it starts your plays on its own without you really having to commit to anything. But it also puts a little body on board that can be useful for a number of different applications. Right? You can summon a level 3 so that if you have a Leon in hand, in addition to your Instant Fusion or Ready Fusion, you can go straight into the Synchro, which is nice. If you're going second, and you have either of the level 3 gold prides, you can go into Fortune Tune, into Downerd, into Zeus. So you can go for like a rank 3 kind of strategy there. And also, in terms of synchros, you can go into any generic level 6. You can also use Alvain in addition to Nitro Head to make a level 10, like Baron or Chengying. So this card opens up a lot of combo potential while also starting your plays. So I think this card is going to be, at least right now, until we see what the new support in the next set looks like, this card might just be mandatory in the deck, because it just does so much. It enables your plays while also giving you access to your extra deck. Unfortunately, it will take up a decent amount of extra deck space, but that's just the cost you have to pay to play a unfinished archetype. Also, you can see on the far left here, there's Instant Contact, which basically summons a level 7 from the deck, because it summons any Neos fusion, and they're all level 7s, I think. So you can use Leon with any of those level 7s to make Baron as well. And you can play any mix of these, probably like 1 instant fusion and 2 ready fusion would probably be the correct ratios. But time will tell. I think this card is going to be fantastic for the deck, probably mandatory. Other cards, Upstart Goblin also enables all of your plays, because you don't necessarily have to be at low life points, you just have to have less than your opponent. So if you Upstart, give your opponent 1,000, you draw a card, and then bam, now your entire Gold Pride engine is online. You can now start like special summoning and popping stuff. Just, you know, and you get the little extra consistency of drawing a card. Performapal Popper-Up, I think, is one that I kind of forgot about. I was just looking through the card pool and I was like, okay, what can this deck use, right? So if you don't know about Popper-Up, you can send up to 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard, draw that many cards, and then you can special summon Performapal and Pinned Magicians that you drew. But if you don't, you lose 1,000 life points for each card in your hand. So this card can be a consistency booster, because you can like you can discard some cards that you maybe don't need to try to draw 3 into your Gold Pride monsters, because again, the deck lacks search power. And then you also put yourself at a life point deficit by doing so, because you're not going to be playing Performapals and Pendulum Magicians in this deck. I'm sorry, but you're not. You can try. You can definitely try. But this card is very high risk, but also very high reward. If your 3 draws are just kind of insane. And then you have the random monsters that just summon by paying life points, like Ascendant of Thunder and Garbage Lord. Ascendant of Thunder you can use alongside Leon to make a level 10 synchro, and Garbage Lord you can use alongside Leon to make a level 8 synchro. So there are some uses for these, but other than using them as synchro material, you're not really going to be able to make anything else, because level 5 and level 7 just doesn't mesh well with the rest of the cards. And since the Gold Pride Link monster doesn't allow you to use any generic materials, you're going to have to make a completely generic Link, or you're going to have Leon. And if you have neither of those, then these cards are functionally useless, other than just being a way to pay life points. So I'm hoping maybe there's some cards in the future that these cards might be a bit better, but for now they seem a little cope and probably not good at all. But they're still worth mentioning because it's really all we have. Unfortunately, it's really all we have. And now, here is the important part. This is going to be the most important section. where you can combine this deck with P.U.N.K. And there are tons and tons of synergies with P.U.N.K engine, because the P.U.N.K engine thrives off of having level 3s and level 8s. And they also pay life points to activate almost all of their effects. So it feels like Gold Pride was designed to make P.U.N.K good again after Chaos Ruler and H.U.K were banned. Because all the Gold Prides are level 3s and level 8s that thrive off of paying life points. So they're like a match made in heaven, basically. So all of your level 3s, they pay 600 in order to use their effects. So just by activating Xiamen effect, or by activating Spider or Wagon to search for your monsters, spells, or traps, it turns on all of your Gold Pride monsters to be able to special summon, and you can use them as like non-tuner level 3s, tuner level 3s, level 8s to make rank 8s alongside Foxy Tune or Dragon Drive. And you can also use Leon as a level 3 tuner to make any level 6 synchros. Also level 11s like Amazing Dragon and Psychic End Punisher, which are 2 crucial cards to the P.U.N.K deck. And also Madam Spider plus Captain Carry makes the level 6 while also searching both trap cards at the same time. So Spider plus Carry is like 3 interruptions on its own, which is pretty nasty. You should also keep in mind that the P.U.N.K engine is insanely consistent. The deck has so many searchers, so many extenders. It has access to triple E-Telly. So there's probably going to be times where if you open E-Telly and a couple of Gold Pride monsters, you can probably do your entire turn without normal summoning at all, because every monster just special summons after that. I'm probably gonna make like a full combo guide on this deck, more than likely. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe. And also this just gives you another reason to play P.U.N.Ks. There's tons of more interactions that I couldn't really fit on the screen here, but you can see from first glance if you're a P.U.N.K player and you know anything about P.U.N.K, having access to these cards can like not only give you a bunch of advantage, it can also like push your combo boards farther than they've been without H.U.K and Chaos Ruler. So I'm really excited to test these. I'm gonna make like a full combo guide for these. So that'll be sick. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the deck so far, is that they kind of, at least right now, it seems like they were kind of made just to be a supplementary engine for P.U.N.K, due to the loss of Chaos Ruler and H.U.K. And all of the monsters being different types and attributes can be cool, because P.U.N.K already is able to play cards like There Can Be Only One, which is a really nice floodgate to have. It can also play the P.U.N.K field spell, which is going to be... The P.U.N.K field spell can like draw 2 cards every turn, so while you're going through your P.U.N.K combo, you have chances to draw into your Gold Pride monsters, or your Gold Pride Searcher. So Gold Pride having very low consistency as a deck right now, using the P.U.N.K engine to kind of thin your deck while also drawing a bunch of cards, it can probably help you fix the consistency issues a little bit of the Gold Pride monsters. So that's cool. So overall, I'm really excited to test these. My first impressions are the same as pretty much any other TCG exclusive, where the first wave of support shows promise, but is basically unplayable on its own, unless you splash it into another deck. And it's the same thing for here as well. The archetypal restrictions also provide a bit of a concern, right? Leon only being able to quick synchro using Gold Pride monsters as material is very, very lame. I wish it was just more generic. Locking yourself into Gold Prides if you use Leon's Monster Reborn effect. And also the column and zone mechanics. It's such a gimmick that it's only gonna work once per match. Like once, if you use that effect, if you use the effect of Nitro Head or the Link 2 in like game 1 of a duel, your opponent's gonna play around it for games 2 and 3, and it functionally just removes all of your removal that isn't the trap card and the level 6. So it's it's such a TCG exclusive thing to print effects like that, and I'm kind of sick of it. I wish they would just finally make cards that are actually consistently strong and not very gimmicky, but you know, the OCG always comes in and has to fix everything, so hopefully they'll do the same for this deck. But so far there is promise. I'm a bit more optimistic about the second wave of support for this deck than I am for Goatee, which I know is heresy, because I'm the Goatee guy. But I think the deck shows a little bit of promise. It's definitely better than Warrock, I'll say that. Definitely better than Mutant, I think. We'll just have to see. Because right now the deck is just an engine and not actually a deck. So I will watch the Gold Pride career with great interest. And if I missed anything in this video, if there's any more like secret text, if there's any secret text that I might have missed, because I did rush to put this video out a little bit, so there are going to be things that I probably missed. I just wanted to get my first impressions out there before, you know, before too late. You know, I gotta get the relevancy, viewership. You know what I'm saying? And also, if you like this video format, let me know. Let me know if there's anything I can maybe do a bit better. Because this is a completely new format for me, using like these pre-made little clips here.